From censored files to clear evidence, this is Redacted Realms.
There is a quiet horror in the veins, a creeping dread that begins where the blood should flow. It starts with a whisper, a faint scent of ozone and damp earth that clings to the skin. Her own reflection became a stranger, eyes that seemed to drink the light from the room. The air grew heavy and thick, pressing down with the weight of a secret the body could no longer keep. Every heartbeat was a countdown, every pulse a reminder of the transformation happening beneath the surface. She could feel the cold, sticky residue of it on her skin long after she washed her hands. And in the quiet of the night, she heard it, the soft, wet sound of something shifting inside. This is not an illness, it is a conversion. The story of how a life-saving treatment became a living nightmare. A single, perfect sunflower stood in the sterile hospital room, a defiant splash of life against the white walls. This isn't science fiction. This is the story of Sarah Carter. For 7 long years, every doctor told her the disease was terminal. They were all wrong. Our story begins in Austin, Texas, with Sarah Carter, a 32-year-old landscape architect, vibrant and creative. A woman whose living came literally from the sun. She wasn't dying, she was changing. This is the story of her terrifying transformation, a journey from survival into something else entirely. What began as a simple life, rooted in nature, would soon be consumed by it. Mike, a high school biology teacher, and his wife were the portrait of suburban normalcy. Weekend hikes, backyard barbecues, dreams of starting a family. But then, a crushing fatigue settled in, a weight that felt like gravity itself had intensified. It was followed by a persistent, gut-churning nausea that clung to him like a second skin. First, subtle cracks were appearing in their perfect world, heralded by a creeping, physical wrongness. Sarah's world narrowed to the relentless hammering in her skull, each pulse a fresh wave of nausea that left her stomach hollow and empty. For Mike, the descent was measured in cold, clinical increments, the relentless dip of a hospital scale's needle marking a weight he couldn't afford to lose. The scale's numbers ticked down relentlessly. 140 pounds, 130, 115. A metallic scent, like old iron, hung in the damp air. Then, Mike's archival audio crackled through, his voice strained and hollow. It was like watching her evaporate. Every test came back, inconclusive. Celiac, Crohn's, cancer, all ruled out, leaving only a hollow diagnosis of the unknown. We were sent home with meal replacement shakes she couldn't tolerate, their chemical sweetness hanging in the air like a sickly promise. So we waited, trapped in a suffocating limbo, as Sarah faded in a hospital bed set up in the sunroom. IV fluids dripped into her veins, a cold, mechanical rhythm that did little more than mark the passage of time. Mike spent hours cradling her skeletal hand, watching the dappled Texas light flicker across her sunken cheeks. Doctors had given her months, perhaps weeks. Then, a subtle shift occurred, a change in the air, thick with the scent of stale medicine and something faintly metallic. It wasn't an improvement, but a quiet, unsettling transformation that made the hair on Mike's arms prickle. Mike was the first to notice. Propped up by pillows, Sarah seemed unnervingly calm in the direct afternoon sun, not just warmer. Her improvement was unsettling. Her ragged breathing would ease, replaced by a rhythm that felt too perfect, too controlled. On a desperate Tuesday, he wheeled her bed into a full patch of sunlight and collapsed into the chair beside her. Exhaustion pulled him under for 3 hours of fitful sleep. When he woke, he found her eyes fixed on him. The glassy, pained stare of recent weeks was gone, replaced by a faint, unnervingly clear focus that made the air feel thin. Sarah's voice was a fragile whisper. "I'm hungry." Mike scrambled for a cracker, but she shook her head with a faint, unsettling motion. "Not for that," she breathed, the words carrying a strange, hollow weight. The next day, she asked to be in the sun again. And the next, a silent, sunlit craving that deepened the unease. Her body violently rejected the IV nutrition, forcing its removal. Yet against all medical logic, she didn't deteriorate. Her condition stabilized, a plateau of the impossible. Her weight, a horrifying 98 pounds, simply stopped dropping. Then came the first unsettling physical clue. As Mike tended to her, he saw it. A subtle, olive green hue staining her shoulders and chest, like the faintest ghost of chlorophyll. The air in the room grew heavy with the scent of ozone and decay. In the archival audio, Mike's whisper cuts through the silence. "I thought it was liver failure." The jaundice wasn't yellow, it was green, a sickly, living green that seemed to writhe beneath the skin. Panicked, they sought a new specialist. Drive, Aris Thorne, an endocrinologist renowned for confronting the inexplicable, conducted every conceivable test. The findings weren't merely abnormal. They defied all medical logic. A metallic scent of ozone and sterilized steel hung in the air as he reviewed the impossible data. The final report delivered its chilling verdict. Severe, near-total atrophy of the digestive tract. Her metabolic activity was negligible, consistent with deep coma, yet her brain function was inexplicably normalizing. Bloodwork revealed unprecedented levels of adenosine triphosphate, cellular energy, with no discernible source. And under the microscope, Her skin showed evidence of novel, plant-like plastids where human cells should be. Dr. Thorne's voice, barely a whisper, carried the weight of the impossible. Ms. Carter, the scans reveal something impossible. You're not metabolizing food. You exist in a state of suspended animation, yet you're fully conscious. Your cells, however, are crackling with unnatural energy. They're energized by something other. There was one variable left to isolate: sunlight. They transformed that sunroom into a sterile, controlled environment. Blackout curtains sealing every window. Advanced light spectrum lamps humming softly. For 48 hours, Sarah was exposed only to specific, measured wavelengths of light. The air grew heavy with ozone and the metallic scent of electricity, while a low, persistent hum vibrated through the floorboards. Red light produced no effect. Blue light made her agitation spike violently. But under a lamp simulating full-spectrum sunlight, her monitors told a different story. They showed a surge in blood oxygen and a steady, gentle production of that mysterious cellular energy. The conclusion was inescapable. A biological heresy that reeked of ozone and decay. Dr. Thorne's voice was a clinical murmur in the sterile air. Your body, fighting for survival, has bypassed your failed digestive system entirely. A faint, ozone-like scent seemed to hang between them. It has developed a photosynthetic pathway. The words landed with a physical weight, heavy and cold. On a fundamental level, you are now deriving energy directly from light. In the wake of his pronouncement, the room didn't just fall silent. The very air seemed to congeal, thick with the dread of the impossible. Mike's gaze shifted from Dr. Thorne's grim expression to his wife, pale and still beneath the harsh, sterile light. The question caught in his throat, a dry rasp. Is she gonna be okay? Dr. Thorne's reply was flat, devoid of comfort, landing with the weight of a tombstone. She's not starving, Mr. Carter. That's what we know. What we don't know is what she's becoming. And the change is accelerated. The emerald discoloration deepened, spreading like delicate lichen across her flesh, most concentrated where sunlight fell. Her thirst diminished to almost nothing, replaced by an unsettling stillness. Her hunger for sunlight eclipsed all else. She'd spend 10, 12 hours motionless in its beam, in a state of watchful, unnerving stillness. Mike's love became a grim routine of care, adjusting blinds, checking light meters, applying ointments to her increasingly photosensitive skin. The woman he loved was saved, but she was fading, replaced by something serene, slow, and fundamentally other. The climax wasn't a bang. It was the quiet, leathery scent of her skin and the heavy, waiting silence that now filled their home. A whisper, barely audible, broke the evening stillness. Mike leaned in to tuck her blanket tighter, the wool scratchy under his fingers. In the gloom, her hand lay pale against the windowsill, the glass radiating a faint, unnatural warmth. There, a thin, root-like vein he'd never seen, pulsed with a slow, languid rhythm against the pane. And as he watched, horrified yet transfixed, he saw her, just once, turn her palm flat toward the fading sun, like a leaf seeking the last light. The air around her seemed to thicken, carrying the dry scent of ozone and ancient dust. Sarah Carter is alive today, residing in a specially designed glass house in the Arizona desert, a gift from a research foundation studying her condition. Mike visits every month, drawn back by a quiet dread that settles in his chest like cold stone. Her speech is now slow and deliberate, each word drawn out with immense effort. She communicates more through subtle gestures, a slow turn of the head, the faint deepening of green on her skin in the morning sun. Doctors call it Photo-Assimilation Syndrome, a miracle of biological adaptation. But Mike, in his lonelier moments, calls it something else entirely. Mike's archival audio crackles with raw emotion, his voice thick with tears. I pulled my wife back from the edge, he whispers, the words hanging in the air like a ghost. A metallic scent, like old pennies and ozone, clings to his confession. But what returned wasn't her. It was a thing that learned her shape to survive. His final, hollow words drop into the silence. She doesn't need me to feed her. She needs me to open the curtains. We think of survival as the ultimate victory. But what is the cost of survival when it rewrites the very definition of what you are? Sarah fought to live. Sarah Carter emerged victorious, but her triumph exacted a toll her humanity continues to repay. This leaves us with a chilling, unresolved question. Is she a medical miracle? Or is she the first of something new? A stark demonstration that, in the desperate fight for survival, the boundary between human and something other can simply dissolve. The line doesn't just blur, it fades away completely. A single, deep, photosynthetic inhale began and held. The air grew heavy with the scent of damp earth and ozone. Time seemed to stretch, each second thick with anticipation. Then, complete stillness, the kind that makes your skin prickle.
If this file opened your eyes, subscribe and open the next case.